Some horror stories are born from imagination, but the most terrifying ones are carved from reality. What you're about to hear are 17 true horror stories, each one more chilling than the last. They're not legends, not urban myths. These are moments that happened to real people, moments they wish they could forget. Whether you believe in ghosts, or you think the scariest monsters are human, one thing is certain: you might never feel safe again after hearing these. So, sit back, dim the lights, and let's begin. Story 1: The Hotel Guest. That wasn't there. When Marcus checked into a small boutique hotel, the front desk clerk casually asked if he wanted a room upgrade. He agreed. His new room was spacious, with a great view of the city. Around midnight, he woke to the sound of someone in the shower. He froze. He was alone. Grabbing the hotel phone, he called the front desk. "That's impossible," the clerk said. "That room has been sealed for weeks because of water damage. You were supposed to be in 304. When Marcus went to investigate, the bathroom was bone dry, but the mirror had fresh steam and the words, "Get out," traced across the glass. Story 2: The Gas Station Stranger. Driving cross-country, Amelia stopped at a lonely gas station just before midnight. While she filled her tank, a man in a hoodie walked up and offered to check her oil. Something about his smile felt wrong. She politely declined. Moments later, the cashier sprinted outside and shouted for her to get in the store. Once inside, the cashier told her the man had been lurking for hours, waiting for lone travelers. Security footage later showed him pulling a large hunting knife from his pocket when Amelia turned her back. Story 3: The Last Call. At 2:14 a.m., Jason's phone rang. The caller ID displayed his sister's name, but she had died 6 months earlier. Shaken, he answered. A soft, static-filled voice whispered, "Don't go tomorrow." Then the line went dead. The next morning, Jason's commute was interrupted by news of a massive accident on the freeway, the exact route he took daily. Story 4: Footsteps in the forest. Hiking alone in a remote trail, Connor stopped to drink water. That's when he heard it. Footsteps, perfectly matching his own pace. He turned, but no one was there. The sound stopped when he stopped. He decided to test it, sprinting ahead. The footsteps sprinted too. Panic rising, he ran all the way back to his car. Later, he discovered a story about an unsolved disappearance in that same forest just 1 year earlier. Story 5: The Smiling Man. Walking home late, Nicole noticed a tall man under a streetlight. His head tilted unnaturally, and his grin stretched too wide. He began walking toward her, slowly at first, then with sudden bursts of speed. Nicole ducked into a 24-hour laundromat and stayed until sunrise. Witnesses said they'd seen the man before, always smiling, always watching, never speaking. Story 6: The Bus Ride. On a rainy evening, Emma took the last bus home. Only 3 passengers were on board. At the third stop, a woman in an old-fashioned dress boarded, her face hidden under a wide-brimmed hat. She sat in the back, completely still. Emma glanced in the mirror, above the driver and words. The woman had no reflection. Story 7: The Voice in the Wall. During renovations, a couple noticed faint whispers coming from the wall behind their bed. At first, they thought it was plumbing noise. One night, unable to sleep, the husband pressed his ear to the wall and heard someone say his name. Police opened the wall and found a small space where a previous tenant had been living, watching them through drilled holes. Alright, here is Story 8 to Story 17, rewritten for 17 True Horror Stories, July 2025, so that the total keeps the same real life creepy style and fits with the rest of the script you already have. Story 8: The Vanishing Hiker. In 2018, a man named Daniel set out on a solo hike in the forests of Oregon. He was an experienced outdoorsman and carried enough supplies for 3 days. On the second day, he sent a text to his sister saying he had reached the summit and would be heading back. That was the last anyone heard from him. Search teams found his campsite fully intact, food still packed, and his phone left inside the tent, completely charged. No tracks, no signs of an animal attack, and no evidence of foul play. The forest floor was damp and muddy, so footprints should have been visible. To this day, Daniel's disappearance is unsolved, and locals believe the area is cursed due to multiple hikers vanishing there over the decades. Story 9. The Mirror in the Attic. When Claire inherited her grandmother's old house, she found a large antique mirror stored in the attic. It was covered with a heavy black cloth and a note attached read, "Never uncover after midnight." Thinking it was just an odd superstition, Claire removed the cloth late one night while cleaning. In the reflection, she noticed her own bedroom, but something was wrong. A tall, shadowy figure stood in the corner, slowly moving closer. When she turned around, the room was empty. She covered the mirror again, but each night afterward, she heard faint knocking sounds coming from the attic above her bedroom. Eventually, she sold the house. The new owners, they never moved in, claiming the mirror kept showing things that were not there. Story 10. The motel room with no number. A traveling salesman named Rick stopped at a roadside motel after a long drive. The receptionist gave him a room key, but told him, "Do not look into the window of the room across from yours." Rick thought it was strange but agreed. Late at night, curiosity got the better of him. He peeked through the window across the hallway. Inside was a bare room, with a single chair facing the wall and a man sitting in it, motionless. The man's head slowly turned toward Rick, but his face was wrong. Eyes too large, mouth too wide. Rick ran back into his room, locked the door, and left before sunrise. When he returned to that motel years later out of curiosity, the building had been abandoned. The room across from his, it had no door and no number. Story 11. The Last Call. A young woman named Emily worked late nights at a call center. One evening, she received a call from a panicked voice saying, "They're inside my house. Please help." Emily tried to calm them down and asked for the address, but the line went dead. Following company protocol, she reported it to the police. Later that night, she got another call from the same number. Only this time, it was a recording of her own voice from earlier, saying those exact words. Police traced the number, but it was impossible. It had been disconnected for years. Story 12. The Phantom Passenger. A taxi driver in Manila picked up a young woman late at night. She asked to be dropped off near the cemetery. The driver noticed she was pale and silent, looking out the window the whole ride. When they arrived, she handed him an old, crumpled bill and walked away without another word. The driver later tried to spend the bill at a gas station, but the cashier told him it was a rare note discontinued decades ago. Disturbed, he returned to the cemetery during the day and learned from the caretaker that a woman matching her description had died there in a car accident in the 1970s. Story 13. The Elevator Game. A college student named Sarah heard about a strange ritual called the Elevator Game from an online forum. The instructions claimed that by visiting specific floors in a certain sequence, you could enter another world. One night, she decided to try it in her dorm building. At the final step, a woman entered the elevator and stood silently behind her. The rules had warned, do not look at her, do not speak. But Sarah turned around. The woman's face was entirely blurred, like a smeared painting, yet her mouth stretched into a smile far too wide. Sarah woke up hours later in the elevator alone, but now she swears her reflection sometimes lags in the mirror, like it is not in sync with her movements. Story 14. The Thing in the Woods. Two brothers went camping near a remote lake in Canada. In the middle of the night, they heard someone or something walking around their tent. Thinking it might be a bear, they stayed quiet, but then they heard their mother's voice calling their names from just outside. The problem, their mother was hundreds of miles away. One brother peeked through the tent zipper and saw a figure standing there, but its arms were too long, its head tilted unnaturally, and its smile never moved. The brothers stayed awake until sunrise and ran back to their car without looking back. They never went camping again. Story 15. The Doorway. Maya was babysitting when she saw a shadow move across the hallway. Thinking it was the child, she checked his room. He was asleep. She turned back toward the hallway and saw a tall figure standing in the doorway, its head brushing the frame. It took one slow step toward her and then was gone. Story 16. The Photograph. During a family gathering, someone took a group photo. Later, when they looked at it, there was a man standing in the background, wearing clothes from decades earlier, staring directly at the camera. No one recognized him, and he wasn't there when the photo was taken. Story 17. The Window Knocker. Lying in bed one night, Alex heard a single knock on his bedroom window. He lived on the 10th floor. Too scared to look, he stayed under the covers until morning. When he finally checked, he saw long, thin handprints smeared across the glass.